And hello, everyone. Hello. Um, we're just about ready to stream. Sorry about the difficulties. This is actually the first stream I have where Prim is not helping me, so I'm trying to handle by myself, but I think I'm going to do pretty well. Um, as you can see, this is another tier list video. It's one of my favorite little things. For some of you who do not know, I am currently streaming on a laptop, so some of the games that I want to play well, the laptop just can't handle it. So I have decided to try to make more content by just doing, more tier lists and really honestly just being able to talk more with the audience, just be around a little more because I know that I'm a little inconsistent when it comes to, these kind of performances. But I'm here now, and honestly, isn't that all that really matters? All right, so what I thought we would do is this is 19 of the races in Dungeons and Dragons. This is the player's handbook. So we're only going by the player's handbook. That means, like I do know that, you go to Monsters of the Multiverse or something along those lines might be, sorry about that, might be, different. They might have some different options for like what a race can be, just to change it up. We will not be going by any of those rules. We will only be going by what is set in the player's handbook. Um, and I bet you're wondering, I don't, I don't think that there's 19 races in the player's handbook. Well, technically there is not, but I am also including sub races, and for Dragonborn, I am including the different colors. Basically, if they have a different breath weapon, a different damage immunity, because I feel like some immunities are more useful than others, such as, um, well, I don't want to really spoil it too much because let's just say that a few of the Dragonborns will have, a higher tier because they're immune to something that I just find is more common in D&D. Oh, sorry. But with all that being said, let's get down to the very first D&D race. Okay, I'm actually going to start with a Dragonborn. I feel like that is the best thing to start off with, just because, I've been talking about them a little bit. And we're actually going to be talking about the green Dragonborn. Now, out of all of the races of Dragonborn, the green is the only one that does not have a um, metallic variant. Aiden! Hello, Aiden. I'm sorry, I just recently got it to where I could see my chat. So, hello, Aiden. How are you, darling? I did promise everyone would get a darling if they showed up. So, hello, darling. How are you? Anyway, let's look at the Dragonborn, what they have. Um, now, they're a strength and a charisma, which I mean, those are good stats to go into. A lot of people, they will tell you that the one thing that they hate about the Dragonborn, and I think it's kind of pointless too, is that the Dragonborn do not have dark vision. Oh, Aiden, I'm sorry you're sick. Listen, darling, just go get you a nice bowl of soup. Just listen to my calming voice and just try to get a little better, darling. We're going to look at this now. The Green Dragonborn does have poison resistance, which I find to be probably the most useful. So I'm going to put it into D tier. Listen, it's just, I mean, it has a pretty weak breath weapon. It's just not useful. I'm doing well, Aiden. It's actually very close to my birthday. My birthday is in about a week, so I'm excited to see that. You know, as an undead, it's a little weird to still be celebrating my birthday after all these billions of years, but I still like to celebrate, you know, a good holiday. Anyway, we're going to put the green dragonborn into high D tier. I feel like, it's better than, some of the races, but it's very hard to say that it's one of the best races. So I think a high D tier, it falls short of a lot because, I mean, that lack of dark vision, it does have an immunity, so that does give it, it's not entirely useless, but there's just so many. Honestly, maybe I should put it in C tier just because of the immunity. Maybe the other Dragonborns are a little lower, but I mean, it does have poison immunity. And C is just like run of the mill. You know what? I'll do C tier for right now, but I might be bumped down like a low C tier. Um, I'm trying to see what I want to do next. Let's do let's do a forest gnome. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the forest gnome next. And I want to say that the forest gnome, does it not show up? There we go. Sorry about that. It wasn't showing up on my screen that it was on there. Anyway, forest gnome, I'm going to honestly say that, the gnome as a race is kind of lackluster. Um, oh, sorry, technical difficulties. The gnome as a race by itself, very lackluster. Not the best. I mean, you're talking about, you know, maybe a couple advantages, but I mean, if you're going to play a smaller race that loses, the movement speed, because I mean, gnomes, dwarves, halflings, they all have only 25 movement speed. So I mean, if you're going to lose 5 movement speed, you need to have something that backs it up. This might be controversial. This might be controversial. I'm going to put it in F tier. I'm going to put it in F tier. I mean, let me double check. I have notes. I have notes on all the races, but I need to double check and make sure. This is the one. Forest gnome, rock gnome. No, forest gnome. Yes, forest gnomes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, their abilities, they're just lackluster. I mean, depending on what version you take, like if you absolutely have to use the ability scores they give you, they're okay ability scores. Hello? They're okay ability scores, but they're just not the best. And honestly, I'm gonna say that the forest gnome, a little bit better than the rock gnome. I mean, not by much. Like you could you could probably honestly move both of these right next to each other. I'm a little biased on like just gnomes in general because I feel like they just don't really give too much. I mean, let me see. Yes, like, I mean, your intelligence is increased by two. And I mean, unless you're doing a wizard build, which if you're doing a wizard build, there's other options like intelligence going up by two. So I mean, you get a +1 to intelligence if you roll over a 10. Which I mean, if you ignore intelligence and you go by a different build, then that means you're basically just wasting your stat increase. And I mean, 25-foot movement speed. I mean, I will say, gnome cunning, but that's only advantage on spell saves. And I mean, there's just +1 to con if you're, you know, a rock gnome. You do have tinkering. This is honestly difficult just on which one I would pick above the other. You know what? I'll put forest gnome because those tinkering tools, being able to make some stuff is pretty interesting. Might be good for, they might come in handy ever so often, and if not, it'd be good options for role play. I will say every single D&D class, regardless of whether or not they're good in the meta of like combat or, any kind of skills that make them better at something, any race is great to role play as. Like you can make a character and it will work on no matter what you're doing. Okay. I think we're going to move on to the next one, and it is Tiefling. Tiefling, I mean, you get +2 to charisma, +1 to it. I think it's intelligence. They do not have any variants, which honestly is a shame because in later editions they do get variants. Like they get a winged tiefling, which has a flight speed. If you were judging it with its variants and stuff, I believe that this could be a contender for S tier. But charisma, getting a +2 in charisma, that's honestly hard to beat because charisma, is used for just about everything. You know, you can intimidate someone, you can, persuade someone. Outside of, maybe perception, it's probably one of the most used skills is just, charisma based checks. I will say probably perception and maybe dexterity. Maybe dexterity is a little bit better. And, obviously constitution because it determines, your health points. But in terms of like after you've rolled your character and in game, charisma is probably one of the best. So I feel like I could put it solid B. If not, I would be comfortable with like a low A tier. Like, and I feel biased. I feel biased about it because my very first D&D character was a tiefling. So, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not putting them in S tier. I wish I could come up with a single reason to put them in S tier. I would love to put them in S tier, but I'm just not able to put them in S tier and feel comfortable about it. Um, Let me see who would be next. Why don't we get another one of the Dragonborn out of the way? Now, I will say, while I did only do the chromatic dragons for these, they're metallic versions. So, I believe it's white and silver. Both have cold resistance and cold breath. Still, I feel like, you know, they all kind of go under the same umbrella. They're basically the exact same thing, just, you know, different coat of paint, really. So, cold resistance. Here's the thing, cold resistance is great. I'm sure that there is a lot of things that use, cold attacks. I know that a lot of spells use cold damage. But I think the most common kinds of damage, which honestly we haven't even talked about the tiefling. I forgot about that to mention. The tiefling is immune to, it has fire resistance, so it takes half damage on fire attacks. That and the green dragonborn, I feel like those two are the most common types of damage. So I cannot rate it above the green dragonborn. And I feel like with the green dragonborn, I was arguing whether or not it deserved C tier. So I'm just going to put the Ice Dragonborn. Now, I'm going to leave room because I don't think it's the worst D tier, but I don't think it's the best D tier. Like, does that make sense? Like, the Tiefling up here, he's low A tier. I feel like that's comfortable putting them pretty high D tier, but not like close to C tier. Hmm. Let's go with this. This is just I'm the most unoriginal. I'm not going to say that because everyone, but I didn't want to play a variant race. I just wanted to play just the run of the mill human. And I will say, good for you. It might honestly be better than. Do I want to say it's better than the gnomes? Here's the thing. You get a stat increase. Every one of them gets +1 to your stats. Every single stat. So I mean, your odd numbers, any odd number you roll gets up one. I mean, is a jack of all trades good? I mean, I do play Bard a lot, so obviously I like a jack of all trades. Tell you what, I will put this. I will put this at high D tier. I know that the Dragonborn gets its resistances, but I mean, this gets +1 to every stat. Dragonborns get +2 to strength, and that's it in terms of what it has better. So I mean, you're getting one less strength, but also, you know, the exact same charisma, +1 to constitution, +1 to intelligence. So basically, if you're just rolling stats, that one's good for getting you, any kind of class that you want. I couldn't really decide on what I wanted to do. I picked this. And I feel like, if C is what we're considering the standard, actually, if C is what we're considering the standard, maybe it should be low C. No, I'll say it's D, high D tier, because it's less than what I would want to start off with, but it's not a bad option. That, and it has its place in, you know, I'm sure that you could also do, only human campaign. Like those kind of things exist. You could do that with any race, but I could see if it was any, it would be an all human campaign. Or maybe an all dragonborn campaign. That would actually be really cool. Okay. we're going to go to the next one, our fantasy boy, the narcissist, also known as the high elf. Listen, this is probably the worst elf option that you can get um, in terms of all of them, just because, like, with wood elves, you get the plus to movement speed. With, you know, drow, yes, you do get sun sensitivity, which sucks, but in a world where you have like the Underdark and you have, where you could just do night missions where you could be, a rogue, you can do a lot with that. And having superior dark vision in a place where you have a need for dark vision, that is insane. Like, it's a great boon. And if you're in a campaign where you need superior dark vision, then that's a campaign where you don't have to worry about the sun sensitivity. But the high elf just has none of the real boons that the other elves do. But I will say it does have, dark vision. So I am willing to put it at a low B. Just a low B. I think that in terms of it being, hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Something was going on with my screen. Anyway, I am just having terrible technical difficulties. Aiden, if you're still here, could you tell me, can you hear me good? Can you see me all right? Is everything okay with the stream? Um, just if you're here, could you tell me that? Otherwise, we'll get back to this. I'm going to put this as a low B tier. I feel like that's a good healthy medium because it's not great, but I think it's better than the standard. Okay, wonderful. Is the screen okay? Can you see where I've put everything? Like, because my screen is just having some issues, and I'm wondering. Looks good. You know what else looks good? You do, darling. You look amazing. All right. Let's try let's try something that I think would be pretty high up there. Half orcs. The I couldn't play a monster, so I got this. Like, that seems like a lot of the classes. Like, in my opinion, you have the Lord of the Rings. You're welcome, Aiden. In my opinion, you have the Lord of the Rings cast where you have the elves, the dwarves, the humans, the 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 legally we can't call them hobbits because of Tolkien suing us out of oblivion, halflings. And then you have the races where I feel like it was we couldn't legally let you play, or like because of the game, we couldn't let you play a dragon, we couldn't let you play a demon, we couldn't let you play a monster. So we gave you like the human equivalent of that, like it's a human, but it looks like a dragon, so it's a dragonborn. It's, a person, but it has horns and is immune to fire, so that's as close to the devil as you can get. Or, just like this, half orc. It gets plus to its strength, and I believe it's constitution, which honestly, great stats to increase. I mean, you know what classes you're going to play a half orc in. Some people, will play spellcasters just to, shake off something, but you're going to play a barbarian, you're going to play a fighter, you're going to play something like that. Maybe a paladin if you wanted to do some casting, but you're not going to show up as a half orc wizard. Pay no mind to the fact that I am currently making a half orc wizard. That is not the point. because I'm not using the handbook's rules. According to the handbook, they have certain racial traits that they have to go by, and modern D&D has kind of gone away with that. They've went more towards you get to pick one stat to go up two, and you get one stat to go up one. Half orcs have the ability to, when they get knocked down to 0 hit points, they get to get right back up with 1 hit point. That is pretty impressive. Downside is that's kind of really all they have is a really good upside. I'm going to put them below Tiefling because they don't have resistance to anything, but they are still hard to knock down. And charisma, strength is a good stat to have bonus in. Constitution's a great stat to have a bonus in, but honestly, charisma is just a better stat. And Tiefling has access to spells because of its lineage, and they have fire resistance. So I feel like they're just not as good. So I feel like high A tier or low A tier, maybe high B tier. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say low B tier or high B tier. Yeah, I'm starting to like the way that I'm looking at this. Let's do one more. Let's do the actual race that I am playing right now in a campaign, a Black Dragonborn. Now, Black Dragonborns have an acid breath weapon and are immune to acid. And in my opinion, outside of like acid spray, this is probably the least likely to be used. Like, I will say the breath weapon's cool and all, but honestly, out of all of the ones that you could have an immunity to, like, black just looks cool, first off. Look at this picture. Here, one second. Like that looks cool, but looks don't always translate to being good. So I'm actually going to say I might just be being hard on it. I'm gonna say let me get it a little smaller. I'm gonna say F tier, highest F tier. I think it's better than the gnomes just because I mean at least it has a 30-foot movement speed, but I just don't see that taking. It has a breath weapon, yes, but the breath weapon is just not a great thing. Like I play a ranged attacker in my campaign, and like I don't even use my breath weapon. I think I've used it once the entire campaign. Your first character you played as was a Black Dragonborn? My first character was a Tiefling. I went with the whole devil vibe. I also took the +2 to charisma to play Bard. What class did you play as with your Dragonborn? Maybe you played the same class as me. While I wait for Aiden to answer, let's go to the next one. Um, let's go with a halfling. This is the stout halfling. A rogue. Ooh. I've never played as a rogue. I have a rogue in my party right now. Actually, now that you say it, I don't know exactly what race he is. I think he's some form of elf. But I do love a rogue. What subclass have you done? Or what subclass did you do? Did you get to that point, or were you kind of low level? Stout halfling. They have poison resistance, which I said is one of the best resistances, and they have a skill, Lucky, which basically means that they can never fail at anything. They cannot be unlucky, so that's great. Great for them. Love that for them. They do have a minus to their movement speed. It's okay if you don't remember. It's okay. I'm just glad you had a good time. Are you playing D&D now? Do you have any new characters that you've played as? Do you want to talk about them? Feel free to talk about D&D in the chat. I mean, I would love to talk to you about any of the characters that I'm playing, any of the things that I'm DMing. I'm currently trying to DM two separate campaigns while also playing in two separate campaigns. So love that. Love that for me. Stout Halfling. I'm gonna put an S tier. That lucky feature, even though it comes with the downside of being, you know, 5 movement speeds slower than just about everyone else. Lucky and poison resistance is nothing to scoff at. I would say that it would genuinely beat out just about everything else. Red Dragonborn. Red Dragonborn. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Red Dragonborn. If I'm going to be honest, like I said with the Tiefling, one of the best two resistances to have would be to poison and to fire. I will say, oh my goodness, Aiden, you're based off one of your VTubers? That's so cool. Or you're based off your VTuber model is based off one of your D&D characters. Yeah, I have a couple friends that have said that their VTube model is based off of a D&D character they played. I am not, but that's fine. I love to hear stories about like how people got the idea for their model. Um, Red Dragonborn, he goes right next to the green. Like I said, poison and fire. I mean, if you absolutely have to, you kind of pick poison. There's a lot of things with poison resistance here. So, I mean, it's really just trying to figure out which one is better. I mean, technically, fire resistance is rarer of a class, but just because something's rare does not mean that it is in any way better. Let me think. Does it belong above? No, I feel like mostly if you're going to talk about fire damage, you're going to get it from attacks. Where poison, like you can get poisoned by something, like you could drink something. Oh, you're poisoned. I feel like poison resistance just has, in a world of chaos that is D&D, you are more likely to get poisoned than you are burned. I don't know if that is an odd statement, but it is a statement I have made. Now let's go to the Dark Elves, the beautiful dark-skinned elves that we call the Drow. I love Drow. There is something about like a dark skin tone and silver colored hair. We have very matching hairstyles. I should really ask where she gets her haircut at. Oh, Aiden was used to be Belfern. That's adorable. What how do I say that? What was Belforn? Is they are they a homebrew of something, or is it? Because I know that you are a puppy boy, I believe. Um, Dark elves are beautiful. The only thing is that I believe out of every single race here, they are the only race with a drawback feature built in. Some races do have, oh, I move a little slower because I'm shorter. These are the only ones that have light sensitivity. So, oh, that's right, you're a puppy elf boy. I'm a fool. Anyway, back to it. You know what? How about this? Let's go and put this. They have drawbacks. They are better than the high elf. I don't think they're better than the half orc, so I'm going to put them just right there. Just right there. Right next to the half orc. And I think that's going to complete the B tier unless I just think of something right off the top of my head. Let's do, just because, for Aiden, was your wood elf the best choice in D&D? Oh my goodness, I can shapeshift too. Um, I can shapeshift into anything that I have, let's say, liberated from life. So I have technically already two forms, that being a dragon form, and I also can turn into a mimic, or at least that's what I have artwork of right now. So let's get to the wood elf. Is Aiden the wood elf way up here, or is he down here at F tier? Let's think. You built him wrong? Well, I will say with wood elves, one of the biggest things about wood elves is that they just get +5 to their movement speed. So, I mean, 35 movement speed really gets you up there. That and, they do have a great weapon selection. I will say one of the things I forgot to mention is that the drow have an excellent weapon selection, probably the best one out of, you know, the three. But out of the weapon selection, the wood elf probably is the medium ground. I don't know. I want to say that wood elf better than drow because wood elf has dark vision and extra movement speed. Because of the extra movement speed, okay, okay. Honestly, I think I'm going to put, you know what? We'll put we'll put Aiden right next to my tiefling. There we go. That's us, right next to each other. We're best buddies. They do make good rogues, I will say. Also, rangers, if you can think of a very stereotypical elf, this is what you're probably thinking of as the wood elf. That or the high elf if you're thinking of, the prudish people that think they're better than anybody. Um, let's see. Let's go with the hill dwarf. Okay, so hill dwarf, just to put it out there, they do have the 25 movement speed. They do have a dwarfish resistance, which means they are immune to poison. Not immune. Immune means they don't take any damage. They are resistant to poison. You know, I will say resistance to poison takes you a long way with me. I don't know. I've just been poisoned a lot in D&D. Poison and fire resistance really takes you a lot. That and they don't really have like the drawbacks that the Dragonborn have. Like the Dragonborn, you lose out a lot on the fact that they have no dark vision, which by the way, if I had to fix first off, if I had to fix any of the lower, let's do that just a little bit. If I had to fix Dragonborn, I would probably give them an optional melee attack, either like a claw attack. I'd give them a tail, maybe a tail attack. Maybe that would be something cool. You know, you could attack a different opponent with a tail. Maybe just a bite attack. Maybe make it so, you can either do a bite attack or you can do your breath weapon, but I would give them something else and I would give them dark vision. It doesn't make sense that a dragon can't see in the dark. It's a dragon. Like it's just a dragon. And you can't say that, oh, it's because it's humanoid. Because I mean, literally everything above them is above them because they have dark vision. And just to make it so I'm not leaving these gnomes out, I would make them immune to paralysis, I guess. Yeah, let's say that no, in my head canon, gnomes are immune to being paralyzed because garden gnomes. I don't know. Maybe because garden gnomes can just turn into stone, but they're still supposed to be able to move. Oh, yeah, and maybe they have advantage on stealth throws or something. I don't know. Maybe they're all proficient. Prim, hello Prim. I love you, Prim. Let's send her a little message. There you go. I love you, darling. I hope you have an amazing day. I know you're off, doing some stuff, but I do appreciate you stopping by to come see me. Anyway, Hill Dwarf. I'm going to put it in A tier just above Tiefling. I think that that's a good little happy medium spot. And you know what? I think we're going to do Variant Human. Now, Variant Human seems to be the way that a lot of classes nowadays are doing the whole, skill. They get +1 in 2 different stats. And if I'm not wrong, I think they get a feat. I think that's what I wrote down in my notes. Yeah, variant humans get a feat. Wait a minute, am I thinking the right one? Yes, variant humans get a feat. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this is where a lot of people, this race right here, the variant human, is where you get a lot of people saying this is how you make a broken D&D character. Oh, you pick this feat and now you can hex somebody, so you get +6 damage at level 1, or you take the pole fighting skill, so now you can attack, at a distance anytime that someone tries to get up close to you. I've heard a lot of different ways that you can make the variant human broken. I don't know if any of them can be done in the player's handbook. I think the polearm barbarian, which is what I've heard of, or the pole dancing barbarian, which is what it's nicknamed as, exists. So I'm going to just listen. It's it's the best class you can use, at least coming out of the gate. Like it's hard to beat it just because like I mean you get a free feat just starting out. I mean D&D Beyond and all that like D&D 1 or whatever it's called. Right now they have the whole thing where any martial art is also a feat. So I mean if you wanted to you could pick like two any I'm stumbling over my words right now. Blah blah blah. You could pick literally any one feat to start off with, and that's really broken, especially since everyone else doesn't get a feat until, fourth level. I think now in D&D 1, they're making it so everyone gets a free feat at the beginning. So anyone with a foot fetish, you should be happy with that. Getting one free feat to begin with. That was a terrible joke. Moving on, we have the blue dragonborn. Lightning. Lightning doesn't come up a lot, but I do believe it comes up more than poison. Now, does it come up more in your campaigns than ice damage? That's a tough one. Thank you, Aiden. I thought it was funny, but I don't know. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm being cringe or if I'm being amazing. Anyway, we're going to say that the blue dragonborn. That's tough. Yes, dragonborn can be blue. Dragonborn can be blue. They are the lightning one. Oh, you know what? Here is how I will put it. Since I can't really tell if it's better than white, I will say that blue dragonborn are lower tier than white because blue can only do a cone attack weapon. Or blue can only do a line attack, not a cone. That's the whole point. In D&D, a line, in my opinion, is a very, very much like lower tier than the cold attacks. So I feel like, just having Blaze. Um, I just did a session with Prim and some friends of ours, and during that we had a lightning and a fire user. You know what? Does that mean that I should just say yes? I think that I will. Whew. I've dealt with both of these pretty equally. I think I'm going to stay comfortably that blue is under it just because the lightning breath weapon is a line. Meanwhile, the breath weapon of, the ice or the white dragonborn isn't a cone, which means that you can just have, a better spread, better likelihood that you'll hit someone with your cold breath than you will with your lightning breath. That will be how I differentiate because with the rest of them, like outside of very specific circumstances, when are you going to be an acid dragonborn and that be great for you? The drow is low because of its light sensitivity. I feel like in a campaign where you can ignore that, then like yes, it would be S tier because you know it would be better because you can have it higher. Superior dark vision is amazing, but I mean you're losing out on like the sensitivity and light. It's the only one with a downside, and I mean I put it's up there. It's better than most. Yes, you're it's not about smashing. It's not about smashing at all. This one is not about which ones I would smash. This is about which ones would be best to play as. And yes, like you said, there are ways to narratively get around, the drow, but there's in in book there is no magical aviators that makes it so you lose out on your sun sensitivity. So we're going by book. They are lesser because they do have sun sensitivity. Next, we are going to go with the mountain dwarf. And oh, should I? How long have I been streaming? Only an hour. Maybe I could redo this. Maybe I could do a second part up to this stream where it's just reorganizing them as Smash level because that changes a lot of who gets smashed and who doesn't. Okay, so we're going to look at the mountain dwarf. Mountain dwarfs are already pretty high up there. I mean, they do have the poison resistance, which is the same as the stout halfling and the hill dwarf. The only difference is that they automatically have proficiency with light and medium armor, I believe. And is it also shields? It might be shields. If so, that means that you could be a spellcaster as a mountain dwarf and have armor. And that's a huge thing to be able to elevate your armor class so you're less squishy. So I'm going to put it I'm going to put it above the stout halfling. And with it being above the stout halfling, I think I'm going to move all of my A tiers over one and say that that completes that part of the list. And this leaves us with the very last, the half elf. Hmm. I I think I kind of gave it away. I put it. Here's the thing: you get +2 to one stat, +1 to two other stats, and you get proficiency in three skills. Whereas most of the other classes, you get proficiency in two, I believe, or the other races, you get proficiency in two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boom. I say that that completes the list, at least in terms of best in game mechanics wise. Um, I think I'm going to take a small break, go get me some water, go get me, go to the restroom, maybe get a snack, and then I might come back and we'll do the same list, but how smashable is each of the lists, is each race. So yeah, I'll be right back. Stay tuned for that. And we are back. Hello, darlings. Hello, 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 hello. Um, s- so what we are going to do is we are going to do the exact same thing. The only difference is this will be Would I Smash? And I thought we would start off with the Stout Halfling. Now, we love ourselves a short king. But the halfling does get some minus points on being, thank you, darlings. I love you both. Mwah, mwah, mwah. The stout halfling gets some minus points, mostly to the fact that they have hairy feet. I'm not in particular a foot person, but just the fact that they have hairy feet does kind of give me a minus. Like, I think that they are a D tier, would probably not smash, but might get them a drink. Who knows? Hmm. Let's go with human. Human, of course, I would smash a human. Let's just put them. Let's just put them in C tier because would smash, but I mean that's just kind of basic. Green Dragonborn. Now, at this point, I feel like we should just really put the Dragonborns right on top of each other. I mean, I think that, it's a dragon, but it's a person-sized dragon, so it's not as fun, but also it's still a dragon. So I'll put it in A tier. Hmm. Next we have the Drow. Drow is the dark-skinned elves. Again, we love the hair. I have a thing for elves. I have a thing for, the darker complexion, the lighter hair color, and they have a superiority complex. Theirs is a matriarchal superiority complex, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, I think that I'm thinking about the right race. And let me tell you something, there is nothing more satisfying than taking down someone that thinks they're better than you. I'm going to put them in S tier. Put them, yeah, just a little room up in front of them. But what? Just a little bit, but still in S tier. And real quick, in no particular order, I'm just going to put all the Dragonborns in S tier or in A tier. A strong, confident woman. Yes, but there's difference between a strong, confident woman and someone that believes that they're better than you. Like, if you think that if you're a strong, confident woman, all the better for you. If you're a strong, confident man, all the better for you. If you think that because who you are or how you were born somehow makes you entitled that you are better than anyone, then there's just something about knocking you down a peg that is just satisfying. We got Lightfoot halfling. I feel like here's the thing. You go stout, you're thinking bigger, stronger. You're thinking of like a muscular short king. This one, you're talking about, a slenderer frame. I think that one gives it just a little bit in terms of like if you're short and slender, then you just or you're killing it. Prim, prim. It's it's in their lore that they degrade human or they degrade men and force them into a life of servitude. I will say that, obviously this world favors men, but I don't know if we as a society force women into servitude. And if any place does force anyone into servitude, that's just kind of a messed up society. Oh, what was I doing? Right. All the dragons in A tier. If they were actual dragons, they'd be a little higher. Ooh. Do y'all think that I should do a video where I do Smash and Pass, but for like the main Dungeons and Dragons monsters? Like, dragons, beholders, mimics, stuff like that. Because I feel like that would be a really good video. And that could be something that I would do. I want to do a D&D campaign for. Now, here's the thing. Variant human, what does that mean in terms of like smashability? Here's the thing. They're different. They're spicy human. They add a little bit of spice to it. I don't know. Maybe they're just more unique. So I'm gonna say C tier right next to their other human counterparts because it seems like they're just human but with like spent a summer abroad in the Feywild or something like that. Maybe they speak with an accent or something. Ooh, yes. We'll just say that they are any human being that speaks with an accent. That's the variant human for you. Mountain dwarf. Here's the thing. I'm not really into the short and stocky kind of vibe. I think that they are good. We love a short king, and they don't have the whole. I'm just going to put both of them there. They don't have the whole. Ooh, they don't have the hairy feet. That's the one thing that makes them better than the halflings. They don't have the hairy feet. I don't know. Let's see whichever one is the highest on this list. Maybe I'll make into like a character in my next D&D campaign. But let's see. Elf. Hi, Elf. Goodbye, Prim. I love you, darling. It was a pleasure having you here. It's always a pleasure having you in my life. I love you, my precious darling. Goodbye. Anyway, back to stream. We are going to look at the High Elf. High Elf, listen, they have the same thing with the superiority complex. They they aren't dark skinned, but they honestly have the whole fair skin, which I mean, that can be a thing too. High society. I'm gonna put them right next to the drow. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair spot to put them. Oh, Aiden, while you're here, um, would you ever like to play Dungeons and Dragons with me? I have thought about trying to get a VTuber Dungeons and Dragons game going, a campaign. I thought about DMing it. I'm still practicing my DMing skills, but if you would ever like to, I would love to invite you to, you know, play. Okay, we're going with the Rock Gnome. Here's the thing. The Great, Aiden. That would be great. I would love to do, I'd have to get a couple more people. I do have a couple people lined up. I just want to make sure that they can still make it. But yeah, that would be amazing. Oh, that's fine. I'm very new to DMing, so, you know, my skills would not be any better than yours. And I love new players, new and old. You know, it's just a game. We're just telling a story. So the dice obsession has already taken over your life. I love it. We love a dice goblin here. Um, but yeah, we should totally play Dungeons and Dragons sometime. I would love that. Okay, the rock gnome. Listen, we're talking about small, petite frame. That's the thing that I said. You know, I think that they just a bit above human. I'm gonna put them in B tier. I'm also gonna put their cousins, the forest gnomes, in B tier. I mean, they're just small, stocky little things. Oh my gosh, Aiden, you need to post your dice sets on like Twitter or something so I could see them. I love just seeing little dice gremlins, little collections. So if you would ever do that, that would be amazing, sweetie. Okay, next we have the tiefling. And for some of you that have played Baldur's Gate, you know that there is a certain fiend in there that just is beautiful beyond measure. And that's kind of how I see tieflings. They're the I couldn't have a demon, so here is a tiefling. I just feel like they would be amazing. That and horns make great handles. So we're gonna do S tier for that. Okay. Wood elf. Aiden, I know you're a wood elf. Um, yeah, I think I'm just gonna put this one. Like, you could very obviously see that I have a type when it comes to elves. I'm going to put this one under. They don't really have the I think I'm better than you mentality. So honestly, I feel like they'd be a chiller person, but they are still an elf, so you gotta put them in a high tier up there. What else? What else? Um, the half elf. Listen, in my opinion, gameplay wise, obviously half elves are the best, but in terms of like, they're kind of just in between, they really would be closer to like if a human wore cosplayers. So I'm gonna put them A tier, because I mean, at that point, you're talking about a human elf versus a human dragon, and dragons. I mean, God, dragons. Now let's go to the muscle mommies and the muscle daddies of the world. Look at them arms. Look at those thighs. Mmm, Lord. Okay. So what I'm going to do is very simply, I'm going to just boop, boop. One, yeah, I think that's perfect. We kind of got a good mix. Yeah, I think I agree with that one the most. We got the elves, the tiefling, the half orc up at the very top with the S class. Um, A tier, any kind of dragon. I think that's pretty accurate. Half elves also there. The little gnomes would be B tier. Just a little bit above what I would think would be the standard. C tier, you have your humans, your dwarves, and then, D tier. I love them. Like, I think that they would be higher. It's just the feet. Get a razor to your foot, and sure, we could talk about it. Maybe you'd be, you know, C, even B tier, but just I can't imagine doing anything like that. Um, just the hairy feet, that would just kill me. Yeah, I think that's it. Um, Comment below what you think of this list or what you think of the tier list that I made for ranking them as playable characters. If you liked either of them, let me know. Please leave a like on my videos. It really encourages me to try to get back as soon as I can. Um, I think that's it. With that, I will give you all a goodbye. Goodbye, darlings. Hope to see you all soon.